waiting, start acting. That's the first thing you need to grab hold of, because too many of us waste valuable time waiting on the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect situation. We sit back and tell ourselves, I'll start when the timing is right, when I feel ready, when I have everything lined up. But let me tell you something, you'll be waiting forever if that's your mindset. There will never be a perfect time. There will never be a day when all the conditions are flawless, when every challenge has disappeared, when every doubt has gone away. Life doesn't hand out perfect moments. Life hands out opportunities disguised as challenges, and it's your job to act, even when you don't feel like you're fully ready. Think about it. How many dreams have died in the waiting room of someday? How many goals have been buried under excuses like when things settle down, or when I have more money, or when the timing feels right? The truth is, the only right time is now. The only moment you're guaranteed is the one in front of you. Waiting is just another way of hiding. Waiting is just another way of convincing yourself you're not good enough yet, not prepared enough yet, not capable enough yet. But you are enough to start, and once you start, you learn, you grow, you adjust. You build momentum, and that momentum creates clarity. Some of you have been waiting years to make that move, years to write that book, to start that business, to lose that weight, to chase that vision. And in all that waiting, you've convinced yourself that the delay is helping you, but it's not helping. It's killing the very thing you've been dreaming about. The longer you wait, the heavier the weight of regret becomes. And regret is one burden you don't want to carry, because it stays with you long after the opportunity has passed. Action is the cure. You don't need to know everything to take the first step. You don't need the whole map to take a single stride forward. All you need is a decision. That decision becomes the spark that sets everything else in motion. You've been looking for motivation, but motivation doesn't show up when you're sitting still. It shows up when you're moving. When you take that first action, when you show life you're serious, the energy, the drive, the confidence starts to build. You begin to see that you don't need to wait. You needed to trust yourself enough to act. I know it's scary. I know stepping into the unknown can make your chest tight and your stomach twist. But fear is not a stop sign. Fear is confirmation that you're stepping into territory that matters. Fear means you're alive, you're stretching, you're reaching for more. And here's the thing, once you act, the fear shrinks. Once you take the first step, the second step doesn't look as intimidating. And soon, you look back and realize the thing that once held you hostage wasn't the challenge. It was your hesitation. You keep telling yourself you're not ready, but what if I told you readiness doesn't come before action? It comes because of action. You get ready as you go. You figure things out on the way. You grow stronger in the doing. If you wait to be ready, you'll never get started, because ready is just an illusion. Every great achievement you've ever admired started with someone taking a step before they felt completely prepared. So stop waiting. Stop thinking tomorrow is promised. Stop fooling yourself with the idea that later is safer. Later is a trap. Later is an excuse. Later is the cousin of never. All you've got is right now. And right now is more than enough if you have the courage to take action. You don't need perfection, you need progress. You don't need certainty, you need commitment. Make the move today. Send the message, start the project, walk into the gym, pick up the pen, make the call. Don't wait for approval, don't wait for applause, don't wait for the conditions to change. You are the condition that changes everything, and once you make that first move, doors you couldn't see will begin to open. Opportunities you didn't even know existed will reveal themselves. Momentum will carry you further than waiting ever could. Stop waiting, start acting, because the clock is ticking whether you move or not. Life is not patient, time is not generous, and your dream will not wait forever. It's either you act now or you live with the weight of wondering what if. And I promise you, the pain of discipline, the pain of effort, is nothing compared to the pain of regret. So don't wait, do it now, get it done, discipline over motivation. That's the difference between people who talk about what they want and people who actually go out and get it. Motivation is good, it feels powerful, it feels exciting, it gets your heart racing, but motivation is temporary. Motivation is an emotion, and like every emotion, it comes and goes. One day you wake up and you feel fired up. You're ready to attack the day, nothing can stop you. But then the next morning comes and you don't feel it anymore. The energy's gone, the drive is gone, the mood is different, and suddenly the goals don't seem as urgent. If you're relying only on motivation, you're already setting yourself up to fail, because motivation isn't built to last. But discipline, that's different. Discipline doesn't care about your mood. Discipline doesn't wait for the sun to shine or for the music to hype you up. Discipline is a decision that says, I'm going to do this no matter how I feel. It's about showing up even when you don't want to. It's about getting the work done even when every part of you is screaming for comfort, for ease, for rest. Discipline is the force that keeps you moving forward when motivation has disappeared. And the truth is, the people you admire, the ones you look up to, the ones who seem unstoppable, it's not motivation that got them there. It's discipline. Motivation might get you started, but discipline is what finishes the job. Think about it like this. Anybody can go to the gym on the first day of January when the resolutions are fresh, when the excitement is high, when the motivation is strong. But how many people are still showing up on February 15th when the excitement is gone, when the soreness has set in, when life has gotten busy again? That's where discipline separates the committed from the casual. Motivation will carry you for a week, maybe a month, but discipline will carry you for years, for decades, for a lifetime. You can't trust your feelings if you want to win. Feelings lie. Feelings tell you to hit snooze when you need to get up. Feelings tell you to eat that junk when you're supposed to be taking care of your body. Feelings tell you to quit when things get tough, to take shortcuts when the process gets long, to settle when the climb gets steep. But discipline doesn't ask your feelings for permission. Discipline says, I don't care how tired I am, I'm still getting it done. Discipline says, I don't care how hard it is, this is the standard I've set for myself, and I'm not lowering it. And here's the truth. You don't build discipline overnight. You build it every day in the small decisions. Every time you choose to follow through instead of quitting, you're strengthening that muscle. Every time you honor your commitment instead of breaking it, you're making discipline a part of who you are. And eventually, it becomes automatic. At first, it's hard. At first, you fight yourself. At first, it feels like a battle every single day. But after a while, discipline becomes habit, and habit becomes lifestyle. And that's when you become unstoppable. The problem is too many people think they need to feel inspired to move, but the truth is you need to move to feel inspired. Discipline teaches you that. Discipline proves that action doesn't follow feelings, feelings follow action. You start, then the energy comes. You put in the work, then the confidence grows. You push yourself, then the fire shows up. And if you can understand that, if you can train yourself to move first and feel later, you'll never be stuck again waiting for motivation to knock on your door. I want you to think about your goals, your dreams, that vision you carry inside. Do you really think you're going to get there by doing it only on the days you feel good? Do you really think greatness is built on convenience? No. Greatness is built on consistency. Greatness is built on discipline. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's the thing that takes all those big dreams and makes them reality. So stop relying on motivation, stop waiting for a spark, stop depending on the hype. Motivation is nice, but discipline is necessary. Motivation will make you feel good, but discipline will make you great. When the mood is gone, when the energy is low, when the excitement has faded, discipline is what will carry you through. And at the end of the day, results don't care how you felt. They only care about what you did, so make the choice. Build discipline, live by it, let it guide you, let it push you, let it shape you into the person who doesn't just talk about getting it done, but actually gets it done. Big goals can feel overwhelming. They can feel so big, so heavy, that instead of chasing them, you freeze. You look at the top of the mountain and it feels impossible, so you stay at the bottom convincing yourself you'll never make it. But the truth is, no one climbs to the top in one leap. No one achieves greatness in one giant step. The secret is breaking it down, taking it piece by piece, moving forward one step at a time until the impossible starts to feel possible. That's the mistake too many people make. They focus so much on the end result that they get paralyzed by the size of it. They want to lose 50 pounds, and because 50 looks like a mountain, they never start. They want to make 6 figures, and because it feels so far away, they stay stuck in the same cycle. They want to write a book, but the thought of 300 pages keeps them from even writing one. You can't win like that. You can't eat the elephant in one bite. You've got to break it down. Every major achievement is just a collection of small victories stacked together. That's the way life works. Every championship is built on daily practices. Every successful business is built on consistent habits. Every strong body is built on workouts nobody saw and meals nobody clapped for. The end result is glamorous, but the process is ordinary. And the process is broken down into steps that look so small, so simple, that most people underestimate their power. The key is to focus on today's step, not the whole staircase. If your goal is to run a marathon, your first win is just putting on your shoes and running 1 mile. If your goal is to save money, your first win is just skipping one unnecessary expense and putting that small amount aside. If your goal is to build a new skill, your first win is just showing up for 30 minutes of practice. Those small steps may not look like much, but they add up. You can't get to mile 26 without mile 1. You can't get to the last page without the first sentence. You can't get to financial freedom without saving the first dollar. When you break it down, you take away the intimidation. You stop looking at how far you have to go and start focusing on what you can do right now. And the moment you start stacking those little wins, momentum builds. That's when you look back a month later and realize you've already lost 10 pounds. You've already written 50 pages. You've already saved more than you thought you could. Momentum is built in pieces, but it carries you like a wave once you've got it moving. The danger of not breaking it down is procrastination. You'll always tell yourself you'll start tomorrow because the goal feels too heavy today. But when you break it down, you make it manageable. You take something overwhelming and turn it into something you can act on immediately. That's the difference between staying stuck and moving forward. Stop worrying about the finish line and start focusing on the next step. The finish line will come if you keep moving. Think about climbing a staircase. You don't need to see the top to take the next step. You just need to trust that every step you take is getting you closer. And if you can discipline yourself to take that step every day, no matter how small, you'll get there faster than you think. And here's the beauty of breaking it down. It teaches you patience. It teaches you to fall in love with the process instead of obsessing over the destination. Because the truth is, the destination is just a moment. But the process, the journey, that's where you build character. That's where you gain strength. That's where you become the person who deserves the result. Every step you take is shaping you, molding you, building you into someone stronger than when you started. So stop waiting for the giant leap. Stop overwhelming yourself with the size of your dreams. Break it down. One step, one action, one choice at a time. Small, consistent effort beats grand intentions every single day. The mountain that once looked impossible will eventually be behind you if you keep climbing. If you keep stacking those little wins, if you stay faithful to the process. Break it down, take the step in front of you, and trust that every move you make is moving you closer to getting it done. Excuses are easy. They roll off the tongue smoother than effort ever will. They sound good, they sound convincing, and sometimes they even sound logical. But at the end of the day, excuses are lies we tell ourselves to stay comfortable, to avoid the grind, to dodge the responsibility of doing what we know we should be doing. And here's the truth, excuses only sound good to the person making them. Nobody else is buying them. Nobody else is impressed. Nobody else cares. You can tell the world why you didn't do it, but the world only respects results, not reason. Think about how many times you've said, I don't have the time. But the truth is, you had the time, you just chose something else. How many times have you said, I'm too tired, when you know deep down you could have pushed a little harder? How many times have you said, I'll start tomorrow, but when tomorrow came, you repeated the same cycle? Excuses are comfort, and comfort is the enemy of growth. Every excuse pushes you further from what you want, and every excuse robs you of the life you could be living. The problem is excuses don't always sound like excuses. Sometimes they disguise themselves as reasons, as circumstances, as logic. You convince yourself it's not the right season, or you don't have the right resources, or you'll wait until things line up better. But here's the reality, conditions will never be perfect. Life will always have obstacles. There will always be a reason to wait, to stop, to quit. If you're looking for an excuse, you'll find one. But if you're looking for a way, you'll find that too. The difference is choice. When you eliminate excuses, you force yourself to take ownership, and ownership is powerful. Ownership says, I don't care how hard it is, I'll find a way. Ownership says, I may not control everything, but I control my effort, my response, my attitude. Ownership takes away the victim mindset and replaces it with accountability. Excuses keep you powerless, but accountability gives you control. The moment you stop blaming circumstances, you gain the power to change them. Look, nobody's saying it's going to be easy. Nobody's saying you won't have setbacks, challenges, failures along the way. But the moment you lean on excuses, you surrender the fight. You're saying the obstacle is stronger than you. The challenge is bigger than you. The struggle defines you. And that's not true. What's true is you're capable of pushing past it if you refuse to accept excuses as an option. You've got to understand that excuses don't just delay progress, they destroy it. Because every time you make one, you build a habit. And habits become lifestyle. You start excusing yourself today, and before you know it, you've built a pattern of letting yourself off the hook. That pattern becomes who you are. And once you live in excuses, you train your mind to settle for less than what you're capable of. But when you eliminate excuses, when you cut them out completely, you start building a different kind of habit. You build resilience, you build toughness, you build a mindset that says, no matter what, I will show up. And over time, that mindset becomes who you are. You become the person who doesn't need to explain, doesn't need to justify, doesn't need to defend. You become the person whose results speak so loud that excuses can't even exist in the same room. So stop letting excuses talk you out of your future. Stop letting excuses write your story. Stop letting excuses steal the greatness that belongs to you. Because the truth is, every excuse you make, someone else has had that same challenge and still found a way. Somebody had less money, less support, less opportunity, and still made it happen. The difference wasn't circumstances, it was the refusal to make excuses. Excuses or results, you can't have both. You've got to choose which one you want your life to reflect. And when you finally cut off the excuses, when you stop letting yourself off easy, that's when you'll see what you're truly capable of. That's when you'll realize you never needed a perfect situation. You just needed the courage to take responsibility and act. Eliminate the excuses, take full ownership and get it done. Resistance is that voice in your head that tells you to stop. That whisper that says you've done enough. That feeling that makes quitting seem easier than pushing forward. Every single person who has ever chased something worth having has faced it. It's universal, it's relentless, and it shows up right when you're about to make a breakthrough. That's why so many people fall short. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they don't push through resistance when it shows up. Resistance is sneaky. It doesn't always come dressed as something obvious. Sometimes it comes as fatigue. Sometimes it comes as doubt. Sometimes it comes as distractions that look harmless but are designed to keep you from staying locked in. You tell yourself you'll take a small break, and before you know it, hours are gone. You convince yourself you're too tired to give one more rep, one more call, one more page, and you let resistance win. The problem is, every time you surrender to it, you strengthen it. Every time you quit early, you make it easier to quit again. Resistance doesn't just stop you in that moment. It trains you to stop every time you're close to the edge. But here's the secret. The point where resistance shows up is the exact point where growth begins. That's the line most people don't cross. They give in right before they would have gained the strength, the skill, the endurance, the breakthrough they've been waiting for. You think you're protecting yourself by stopping when it hurts, but really, you're robbing yourself of the reward that comes from pushing through. Because pain is temporary, discomfort is temporary, fatigue is temporary, but quitting, that stays with you. Think about it like this. If you're lifting weights and you stop as soon as it starts to burn, you never actually build muscle. The growth happens in the burn, in the struggle, in the push past what's comfortable. Life works the same way. The resistance you face in your grind, in your hustle, in your journey is the very thing shaping you. Without it, there's no growth, no strength, no greatness. The obstacle isn't there to stop you. It's there to make you stronger. And yes, resistance is tough. It doesn't feel good to push through when your body is tired, when your mind is screaming at you to quit. But this is where discipline takes over. This is where you remind yourself why you started, why it matters, why you can't stop now. Every time you push past that point where you want to quit, you're proving to yourself that you're stronger than you thought. And once you've proven it once, you can do it again. That's how you build resilience. That's how you build confidence. That's how you start becoming unstoppable. The danger is most people confuse resistance with a sign to stop. They think struggle means they're not meant to have it, that difficulty means they're on the wrong path. But the opposite is true. The struggle is proof you're on the right track. If it were easy, everybody would have it. If it were comfortable, it wouldn't be worth chasing. The fact that it's hard is the proof that it's valuable. And the fact that resistance shows up is the proof that you're moving towards something bigger. You've got to flip your perspective. Instead of seeing resistance as the enemy, see it as a signal. Resistance means growth is near. Resistance means breakthrough is close. Resistance means you're right where you need to be. And once you understand that, you stop running from it and start embracing it. You stop letting it dictate your actions and start using it as fuel. Push through the tired, push through the doubt, push through the excuses. Push through the voice that says you can't, because the moment you do, the moment you cross that invisible line, you'll discover strength you didn't know you had. And that strength will carry into every area of your life. Suddenly, you'll realize nothing can stop you because you've learned how to conquer yourself. And that's the hardest battle there is. Don't stop at the edge of resistance. Don't quit when it hurts. Don't surrender when it gets hard. That's the exact moment when it matters most. That's the exact moment that separates the ones who dream from the ones who achieve. Push through the resistance and get it done. Finishing what you start is the difference between being a dreamer and being a doer. Anybody can start something. Anybody can get excited in the beginning. Anybody can talk about their vision, their plan, their goals. But the world is filled with people who started and never finished, and the sad truth is that starting doesn't change your life. Finishing does. Starting puts you in motion, but it's completing the mission that gives you results, that builds your legacy, that proves you're serious about what you said you wanted. Too many people live in the land of unfinished business, half-written books, half-built ideas, half-hearted efforts. They start a new workout but quit when it gets tough. They start saving money but stop when the temptations come. They start projects with all the energy in the world, but the moment it requires consistency, the fire goes out. And they look around years later, frustrated, wondering why their life hasn't changed. It hasn't changed because unfinished work doesn't produce transformation. You don't get rewarded for starting, you get rewarded for finishing. The problem is we love beginnings. Beginnings feel exciting. Beginnings are filled with hype and energy, but finishing, that's where the grind is. That's where the discipline, the sacrifice, the long nights, the lonely mornings come into play. Finishing doesn't always feel good, but it's the only way to see the reward. And the truth is, the last stretch is always the hardest. That's why so many stop short. That's why so many get 90% there and fold, because the last 10% requires more focus, more grit, more determination than the first 90 ever did. But you've got to train yourself to be a finisher. You've got to set the standard that says, if I start it, I will complete it. That standard builds character. It builds confidence. It builds trust in yourself. Because when you finish, you prove to yourself that your word means something. And once you prove it to yourself, you don't just walk differently, you live differently. You show up with a different energy because you know you can rely on you. Finishing what you start doesn't just affect the task. It affects the person. It builds a reputation with yourself and with others. People respect finishers. People trust finishers. Opportunities flow to those who can be counted on to see things through. On the other hand, people lose respect for those who always talk but never deliver, who always begin but never complete. Don't let that be your story. Don't be the one who had potential but no perseverance, who had the start but not the stamina to get it done. Yes, finishing is tough. There will be moments when you want to give up, when everything in you is screaming that it's too much, too heavy, too hard. But that's where your why comes in. That's when you remind yourself why you started in the first place. Because the truth is, you didn't start just to quit. You didn't start just to almost make it. You started because you believed it mattered. And if it mattered enough to start, it should matter enough to finish. You've got to start embracing the mindset that says the job isn't done until it's done. Not halfway, not almost, not close enough, done. And when you live by that, something changes in you. You stop letting distractions pull you away. You stop letting comfort talk you into quitting. You stop settling for good enough and demand completion. And once you start living like that, you'll find that your results multiply, because results only live on the other side of finish. Finishing isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. It's about fighting through the obstacles, the setbacks, the delays, and saying, I won't stop until it's complete. And when you get into that habit, when you build that identity as a finisher, you'll realize that nothing is too big, nothing is too hard, nothing can stop you from reaching the other side of your goals. So don't just be someone who starts strong. Be someone who finishes stronger. Don't just begin the race, cross the finish line. Don't just talk about it, complete it. Because in the end, the world doesn't remember what you started, it remembers what you finish. Finish what you start and get it done.